After managing over 7.8 million in assets and coaching dozens of clients, I've noticed something fascinating. Most high earners aren't failing for lack of effort. They're failing because they're focusing on the wrong things entirely. I see this pattern every day with new clients. They come to me frustrated, making good money, but feeling like they're getting absolutely nowhere. These are all smart, hardworking people who have fallen into the same trap. And the solution isn't adding more financial tasks to your plate, it's identifying the one constraint that holds everything else back. Fix that one thing first, and many of the other problems solve themselves automatically. Today, I'm sharing 5 frameworks that have helped my clients break through financial plateaus and surge ahead of 99% of their peers. Let's not waste another minute. Here are the 5 frameworks that will completely transform how you build wealth. Framework number 1, the one thing that moves the needle. Most people work on low impact financial tasks instead of tackling the one constraint that changes everything. I see this mistake constantly with high earning professionals who make good money, but they build wealth slowly. They're focusing on optimizing details while ignoring the major financial bottlenecks that are holding them back. I talk about this in my free 5-day email educational course as one of the 5 biggest mistakes high earning professionals make that keep them stuck in the paycheck to paycheck cycle, feeling financial anxiety and forced to work decades longer than necessary. I also talk about how to fix them. So if you want to check that out, the link is in the description below. When you look at your financial life, you probably have multiple concerns competing for your attention: budgeting, investing, debt management, insurance, tax planning. But here's the truth. Only one of these areas is currently your biggest constraint to building wealth faster. A doctor I work with spent hours tracking expenses in budgeting apps while her 401k sat at a minimum contributions for years. She was obsessing over $50 restaurant bills while missing out on thousands in tax advantages and compound growth. Another client, an engineer, researched stock picks for hours while $100,000 sat in his checking account, losing value to inflation. The tendency is to spread our attention across many financial tasks, which feels productive, but actually slows progress. Some people will argue that they need to optimize everything simultaneously, and they're picking and choosing, but this approach leads to analysis paralysis and scattered efforts. Your limited time and mental energy needs to target the single biggest financial bottleneck first. And by identifying and fixing your one major financial constraint before moving to others, you'll see faster progress than trying to optimize everything all at once. This focused approach creates that momentum that carries into other areas of your finances. So once you've identified your biggest constraint, you need to avoid getting distracted by those half-built strategies that never reach completion. And so that brings me to framework number 2, stop the half-built bridges syndrome. Many professionals start multiple financial strategies but never complete them. They're leaving trails of all these unfinished efforts that create no real progress. And so these half-built bridges consume time and energy without actually getting you to the destination you want to go to. The result is this chaotic financial life with scattered accounts and inconsistent strategies and no real plan. So look at your financial life. You've probably opened investment accounts, dabbled in real estate or stock picking, started retirement plans, and read financial books without fully implementing a single approach. A physician client I have opened a Roth IRA but contributed sporadically, purchased 2 rental properties without tracking any sort of performance, and tried various investment strategies without really committing to any of them. Despite her really high income, her financial progress was slower than colleagues making half as much with simpler, completed strategies. Some folks, they believe that starting these new approaches that keeps them ahead of the curve or ahead of the game somehow. But jumping between these strategies before mastering any creates this sort of perpetual beginner's cycle where you never experience the compound results you're looking for. Another client completed just one financial strategy, automating systematic investments, and outperformed his peers who attempted multiple different strategies all simultaneously. The completion of a strategy, even an imperfect one, beats that partial implementation of multiple perfect strategies. So the biggest wealth gains come not from finding new approaches, but from fully executing the fundamental strategies you already know about. So focus on completing one financial bridge at a time, even if it's not perfect, before starting the next one. The compound effect of completing strategies, even simple ones, will outperform the scattered efforts toward multiple unfinished approaches. All right, so with completed strategies in place, you need to eliminate distractions that fragment your focus and slow your progress. So this brings me to the framework number 3. Eliminate distractions in wealth building. Many of my high income earners often get distracted by low value financial moves that consume their time without significantly moving them toward the financial independence that they're looking for. The key really isn't doing more, it's just doing less but better, focusing on core strategies that actually drive the results that you're looking for. Most people, they spread themselves way too thin across dozens of financial tactics. Mark, and an engineering manager I work with, was subscribed to like 7 different investment newsletters and constantly adjusting his portfolio based on the latest recommendations. Despite all of this diligence, just hours and hours, his returns lag behind a simple S&P 500 index fund by nearly 4% annually. So he was doing more, but actually achieving less. Another client, a marketing exec, spent hours weekly comparing credit card reward programs to optimize points while neglecting to set up automatic investments. The extra points earned him like, I don't know, $300 maybe annually, while his lack of consistent investing cost him potentially thousands in growth. A lot of folks, they believe that their financial activity equals more progress, so getting involved in all these things. But the reality is that it's just busy work, and often, it creates these behaviors that slow wealth building. So when we simplified Mark's approach to focus on just 3 core wealth building strategies: automated index investing, tax optimization, and proper insurance protection, his performance improved and he reclaimed like 5 hours every week. So the path to financial independence isn't about mastering every financial tactic available. It's about being consistent with a few proven approaches that compound over time. So by limiting yourself to mastering 2 to 3 core wealth building strategies rather than dabbling in a dozen other things, you're definitely going to see better results with a lot less effort. This concentrated approach eliminates the noise and lets you focus your energy where it creates the most impact. And so once you've eliminated distractions, you need to strategically decide which financial issues deserve your immediate attention and which can be just sort of remain unresolved. And so that brings us to framework number 4, let some fires burn. Not every financial problem deserves your immediate attention, and trying to fix everything at once guarantees slow progress on what matters. So smart wealth builders intentionally ignore minor financial issues to focus their energy on the highest impact activities. This strategic neglect accelerates their path to financial independence. An attorney client of mine obsessed over perfecting her credit score while $75,000 sat idle in her checking account. The opportunity cost that uninvested cash was costing her roughly $75,000 $500 annually in potential returns, far more significant than the minor benefits of improving her already good credit score. So when deciding what deserves your attention, use this filter. Which problem, if solved, represents the biggest dollar impact on my path to financial independence? This numbers-based approach eliminates this emotional decision-making about what you think matters to you in that moment. So if maximizing your HSA and 401k saves you $10,000 in taxes while optimizing your grocery budget saves you $1,200 annually, the priority becomes pretty clear. Some people, they feel uncomfortable ignoring any financial problem, but the perfectionism creates a form of this paralysis where nothing really gets fully optimized. Another client of mine intentionally ignored mortgage payoff to focus on maxing out every tax advantage account first. This is an amazing display of a disciplined approach to prioritization, which accelerated his time to financial independence by at least 7 years, compared to trying to make progress on everything simultaneously. By intentionally focusing on high dollar impact areas first and letting the smaller issues just remain temporarily unresolved, you'll actually reach financial independence years sooner. And the willingness to strategically neglect these minor financial issues is often what separates those who achieve early financial independence from those who don't. So the ultimate strategy ties everything together, solving root problems that automatically fix multiple issues downstream. And that brings me to framework number 5. The right problem solves many other problems. So the most elegant solutions in finance are the ones that solve multiple problems simultaneously. They create this bit of a cascade effect of benefits from one single change. So instead of addressing symptoms one by one, focus on fixing root causes that make other problems completely irrelevant. This approach dramatically simplifies your financial life while accelerating your progress. David, a tech executive, struggled with saving consistently despite earning $200,000+ annually. Instead of addressing his spending habits directly with budget apps and expense tackling, we implemented an automated system that redirects funds to various accounts immediately after payday. This one change solved multiple issues at once. His savings rate increased from 10% to 35%, and his budget anxiety disappeared since what remained at his checking was his to spend. His investment performance improved through consistent contributions in all market conditions, and his tax liability decreased through more pre-tax contributions. So another client, a small business owner, felt overwhelmed by financial complexity until he consolidated all of his accounts and set up a simplified dashboard. This single change eliminated tons of paperwork, reduced mental overhead, improved tax efficiency, and increased his confidence in his financial decisions. Some folks, they'll argue that addressing problems individually provides more control, but this approach often creates this perpetual game of like financial whack-a-mole where new issues constantly pop up. And so for most of my clients, the fundamental constraint isn't a specific financial tactic sometimes. It's the absence of a system that handles the heavy lifting for you automatically. And so what you can do is create the right system, and many of these individual problems vanish without requiring all these separate solutions. This system-based approach builds wealth with less effort and greater consistency than trying to solve every problem individually. So now that you understand these 5 frameworks, you need to take action on the one that creates the biggest impact for your specific situation. The most direct path to financial independence isn't through trying to do everything, but through strategic focus on the right things in the right order with the right level of completion. So if you found these frameworks helpful and you want more strategies to accelerate your financial independence, then you might want to take a look at one of my other videos. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next one.